And hello and welcome, my name is Martin, and today we're going to be covering is both the win condition and the lose condition as far as what happens when those two things happen and whether you see something on the screen relating to what you should do after you beat the level or you succumb to having your health bar go all the way down to 0. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so once inside, we're going to want to see where we have most of our maps. So let's go ahead and open that up and go to Content First Person BP, go into Maps, and you'll see that that's where we have most of the maps that we have created for, or actually all of the maps and the widgets that we have created for this. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using widgets to actually give us the you have won, you have lost screen. So let's go ahead and create those two real quick. So let's go to User Interface, Blueprint Widget, and let's call this one win. Win underscore widget. Okay. And let's make one more of these and right click interface blueprint widget. And let's make this one the lose screen. So we'll call this lose underscore widget. Okay, so if we open up the first one real quick, let's open up the win. And what we're going to want to do is put an image in the background so that way we can't see anything through it. So we're going to stick that up there at the top. And once it's up there at the top, remember that if you were to pull this out, you can actually see what your screen resolution is. And in this case, I have mine to 1920 by 1080, so you can check and see what yours is. But I can now grab this image. With that image still selected, I can come over here to the X and I can actually type in 1920 by 1080. And now I have a white box that is the size of the entire screen. Underneath, I believe it's underneath color. Let's go ahead and let's change this to, let's say, a green for the win condition. Greens usually mean you've done well, as opposed to a red screen, which usually is like you've, like blood or you've died or something like that. So let's make this like a darker green. I don't want to like blow people's eyes out with it. Okay. So we now have the green background. We're going to create text on this. So I'm going to grab a text, not a text box, but just text. And I'm going to double click in there and let's call this one you win. Okay. Let's make this about 150 so nobody can miss it. And let's make the box big enough to be able to sit that in. And with that still selected, we should see underneath, what is this? Underneath appearances, something to justify that in the middle. And then from there, you should also have a, where are they? Oh well. Not big a deal. I was just going to make it move down just a little bit from the top. So there was or should be somewhere in here that allows us to be able to kind of create a bumper between the top and bottom. Anyway, it's not a big deal. So we'll just find the middle of this. Okay, so there's the middle. And knowing that that's the middle, let's scoot that over just a little bit. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now we have the you win. The next thing that we're going to do on here is we actually need to set 2 more boxes up. So let's grab another box. And we can actually drag that into the canvas panel and another one into the canvas panel. Let's grab one of those boxes, and in one of these boxes, what we're going to do is we're going to write the conditions that we want to match for our screens, or what we're telling people to do when they win the level. And actually I'm going to need one more box. Okay, so we've dragged a total of 4 boxes down there. We have one now that says in big letters, you've won. and we're about to click on a second box, and we're going to make the a text change in here to, let's call this one level completed. Okay, let's make this approximately, where's the, there we go. Let's make this about 50. 50 is a good size. People can see it. Okay, and let's also center justify that as well. Stick that in the middle. Grab its deal. Hits anchor. There it is. And then you can check between the top one and the bottom one. If you don't see this thing move at all, that means you got it exactly in the same place. Alright, so once we've got the level completed one there, let's grab one of the other boxes. And in this one, what we're going to type is press enter to play level again. So okay, again, we're going to make this 50. Stick it somewhere in where it looks like it's in the middle. Okay, click on the other one and this one. They're all going to line up. Alright, and with that last one, let's grab this last one. Okay, and with this one, we're going to call it press N to return to main menu. So okay, same thing, size 50. Okay, let's center justify it. And then let's find the middle of this. Okay. And they're all in the same place. Alright, when you've done that, hit compile and save, and that's all we're going to have to do for this particular element. As far as the widget's concerned, we are telling the player when it shows up, when they get to the end, that hey, you won, you completed the level. If you press the enter key on your keyboard, you can play the level again, but if you hit the end key, you can press enter to play level again. Press enter to move to next level. Sorry, that's what it should say. This is what happens when I copy and paste. I'm glad I go back over these things. Press enter to play next level. And let's center justify that also. Okay, sorry about that. Let's say that one more time. So, player gets to the end, they get to the trigger box, they get this message. It says you win, you've completed, level completed. If you press the enter key, you get to move to the next level. If you press the end key, it will return you to the main menu. So that seems like a very logical state for that. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So let's hit compile and save with this. and we can go, I'm going to leave it, I'm just going to minimize it. Okay, so with that done, let's go and make the next one, which is going to be the, where is it, the lose widget. So let's double click on the lose widget, and let's do the exact same things. This time I'm not going to say it, I'm just going to play it, so then that way I can speed it up later in the video. Here we go. So it's exactly the same thing. The only thing that's going to change is the text, okay, what the words themselves say. That's it. Okay, so we're done. Okay, so our fail screen now says you failed. Restart level, press enter to retry, or press the N key to return to the main menu. Now we could dress this up a little bit more, but for the purpose of just showing you how this works, this is going to be good enough. Let's go ahead and hit compile and save. So at this point we have a win screen that says, hey, you won, level complete, enter play, press enter to go to the next level, or press N to return to the main menu. So this return N is going to be the same. What's going to change a lot is going to be what the enter button does. The enter button will either take you to the next level, or it will keep you in the same level depending on what your condition was, whether you won or whether you failed. Okay, so from here, the next thing that we need to do, of course, let's compile and save on both of these, compile and save, and from there we can actually close both of those. What we'll need to do next is actually create another actor. So we'll need to create what's called a blueprint actor, and what this blueprint actor is going to do is it's going to hold all the code for those two screens. And the reason why we need to do this is because they're widgets. We could put buttons on there, but then we had to have a whole nother issue with buttons. Plus, I get to show you a different way to be able to generate a key, like you're hitting something on your keyboard, and that's what's actually moving you through your levels. So let's go ahead and start. So out here in first person BP, what I'm going to do is right click and type in or click on blueprint class. I'm going to select actor, and I'm going to name this complete, as in the level is complete, level 1, and BP for blueprint. Okay, with this now, what we're going to want to do is double click on this, and if you're inside the viewport, what you'll want to do is add a component and add a trigger box. Oh, sorry, it's not a trigger box, it's a box collision. My mistake, my apologies. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. We know that we'll resize it later once we bring it into the area where that little red square is that we have to get through, which is the end of the level. Okay, so those three things we're not going to need. And okay, I hope you're ready because we're going to start writing a little bit of code here. So with this box selected, we're going to right click here, and we're going to want to type in on component begin overlap. So Add event box, it's going to be a collision because we're going to be colliding with this particular box, collision box. Okay, so from there, once we click or once we tag into this box, what we're going to want to do is create the widget, right? So create widget. From here, we need to tell it which one of the widgets we want to create. Since this is the one, since this trigger box is going to be at the end of the level, what we're going to want to do is make sure that this is going to the win widget, right? The one where it says, hey, you've won because you've gotten to the end. You've actually touched the component box at the end. So once that's there, let's go ahead and have this go to viewport. So add to viewport. Make sure that you don't forget to put the return value or tag that into the target. All right, from there, the next thing we'll need to do is have what's called an enabled, and this is going to allow keys to start working from your keyboard. So we're going to say enable input. So we're enabling the character or the person who's playing the game to create new input. So let's type it in as get player controller. So remember that the controller is the keyboard and the mouse. All right, and from here we do want the mouse to show up. So let's type in show mouse. Again, if you're not seeing it, get rid of the context sensitive, and then you will see set mouse. Okay, we do want the mouse to set up or to show, and we again want this going to get player controller. All right, so that's the first part of the code. So this says once we hit the overlap, once we hit this the box collision, we will then generate a widget. The widget will be the win widget. That will then show up on the screen. Once it's up, we will allow you to be able to use certain kinds of controls, and the mouse is going to be one of those, and we want to see the mouse visibly. All right, so from there, the next part of this code is actually going to come off of, is going to be which buttons to push, because we haven't, if let's say we're going to hit the enter button to allow us to go to the next scene, we need to tell the system that that's what that button is going to do and what the condition is for that. So what we're going to want to do is right click and type in enter. If I could spell, this would show up. And what we're looking for is the keyboard event. So this thing that looks like a broken up keyboard, that's actually what we're looking for. So this is saying when you have pressed the enter key, we actually need this to be, so that's the first one. And let's go ahead and grab the other one for the end. So then that way we can see these built together at the same time. So now I have for the enter key when it's pressed, and for the end key when it's pressed. Now these need to be on conditional statements, so let's go ahead and make these branches. So this is going to be a branch, and we could probably right click on this and duplicate, and we would have our second branch. Okay, so when these things are pushed on the enter key for the win screen, I want this to open up the next level. So since this trigger box is going to be in level 1, we can say open level, and let's go ahead and type in level 2. All right, and we're almost done with that, so we'll move this just a little bit over. Okay, and then the next thing will be with the other condition will be when this thing is pressed, we want to go back to the main menu. So we're going to pull off a true, and we're going to do another open level. Okay, and this time we'll go back to the main menu. So this will be main menu map 2, and that's what it is for me. This is the main menu for me. Remember to just type in or copy the name of the menu that you have named yours. Now this is almost there, except for the fact that we don't have a condition for the branch. So we're, if we, you know, when are we allowed to do this? If we don't put a condition on the branch, what's going to end up happening is that they'll be able to hit enter any time during the game and open up level 2, or reopen level 2, or hit end at any point in the game and be able to go back to the main map. Now that may not be a bad one, but we want this to actually be part of this screen when it shows up. So what we'll need to do is take from the sweep. You'll see that that has a red coloring to it, which makes it a condition. And if we read it real quick, it says from boolean, from sweep, and somewhere I read that this is always a negative value. So it is going to come into the condition as a false statement. So we're going to attach these two together. Now, because these are coming in as false statements, what we're going to have to do is actually, instead of running these off the true, we're going to need to run these off the false. I know it feels weird, but that's what we have to do to get this to work. All right, so let's go back over our code. When we run into the trigger box, we want to generate the win widget. That win widget needs to be on the viewport so we can see it. We want to enable certain keys to work, and we want the mouse to be there, and we want to be able to see the mouse. From there, we have set up the enter key and the end key to show up only when we're overlapping the box. And if we are not overlapping the box, then we need this to not go to the next level and not go to the map. Essentially, just read this as if we hit the enter button, we are going to go to level 2, and if we hit the end button, we are going to go to level 3. It's just that this thing is backwards, so we've had to write these as false statements. Okay, so with that done, let's hit compile and save. And we're going to copy this so that we don't need to make it again. So with everything selected, let's hit Control-C. And let's go ahead and open up. We don't even need to do that. Let's just right click on this and say duplicate. And this time we're going to call it level 2. So this will be the trigger box that shows up in level 2. And I don't need that to say BP1. Let's just do that. Okay, so that way they're both consistent. So when it's complete level 1 or L1 BP, which is the one that we wrote all the code in just a second ago. And for the second one, it's a duplicate of what we just did, but we're going to make a few changes to this. Okay, so the same thing is going to happen when we overlap the box. It's at the end of the level. We do want the widget to show up. We do want it to be the one that says, hey, you've won. The only difference is that we have written a slightly different statement into each one of these. Remember that on this one, the enter key, it will allow you to be able to replay the level if you want. So you get to go back to the last level if that's something that you wanted to do. I'm just trying to keep the enter key relevant and showing you how you might be able to use it for something else. So we will actually leave this the same. That means that as we hit the enter key, when we get to the end and only when we get to this condition, will we be allowed to hit the enter key, and it will take us back to level 2. If we want to end the game, we could just have the end key take us to the very end, or take us back to the MIDI map. All right, and from there, everything else basically stays the same. Now, again, if this was, let's say, if you had a level 3, you would have to come here to open level and make that level 3. But since I've only got 2 levels in my game, this is going to just allow you to be able to replay that level. All right, so we're almost done. The only thing we got to do now is make a little change to the first person character. And the reason why we didn't have anything happen here with the fail condition is because the fail condition doesn't happen on the trigger box. It's going to happen when our health bar goes down. So we have to go to the first person character to get to our health bar, because that's where we're taking damage. That's where damage is being registered for our health bar. So with the first person open, I'm going to come up here to where my health bar is, and there's actually a few things that I'm going to get rid of. We're going to get rid of destroying the actor. We're going to get rid of end level, and we're going to get rid of the current level box. Okay, and from here, and we're actually going to get rid of sequence. We're not going to need sequence. Okay, so this is what we should now have for our health bar. It looks a little weird, feels a little funny, but we'll be all right. So basically what we're saying is keep checking, and if our health bar is above or below 1, give us this condition. So once we've gotten below 1, we're going to want to create the create widget, sorry. Okay, now that widget is going to be the you have failed screen, right? So the lose widget is what we're looking for on this one. We do want this to go to add to viewport. So add viewport. Okay. Also, when you do this, make sure that you connect the target to the return value. And the other thing that we want to happen is we want to stop our character from moving around. And I'll show you why in a second. I'm going to set up a scenario on the first person player that we're going to test this out, and I'm going to show you that that if you don't get your character to stop moving, you can actually have quite a bit of problems as far as like other things being triggered in the game. So let's not do that. Let's actually disable our character's movement. So we're going to type in disable and movement. So we want to disable the character's movement. So what this is going to do is it's going to make it to where our character itself doesn't move, but we still have access to all the buttons that make up the character itself. So we'll still have access to the right click and to the left click and to all the clicks that we need to be able to hit enter, escape, or whatever we need to move around. All right, from there we are going to need now to create the enter key again. So let's type in enter. We need that to be key. Now we also need the end key, so let's go ahead and grab that one as well. So end as key. All right. From here, again, we want these to be branch conditions because we don't want these working all the time. We don't want the player to be able to hit start and restart his level at any point in time. So we do want these to be true conditions. And what we're going to do is get the current level or current level name. There it is. So as a function, right? So we're going to get the current level name, and we are going to then open up that level. So open level, and we're going to attach this return value to the name value, and then we'll get this little extra box that does the converting for us. So then that way it gets read as a name value. So basically what we're saying here is when this widget shows up, well, actually, you know what? Let me rephrase from saying that. Let me finish the end command, and then I'll show you how these things are working. So again, we're going to need another branch. So let's type in branch. All right. And once we've got the branch, then we're going to need, again, off of the true condition. Okay. And we're going to type in open level. And then this level is going to take us back to our main menu. Correct? So let's type in main menu map 2, which is my main menu. Okay. So we've got all the pieces that we need. Let's explain what we're doing here, and I'll show you how these things hook up. So basically what we're saying is continuously keep checking the game. If our current level is below 1, show us the lose widget, right? The you have lost widget, the red one. Add that to the viewport, and then disable our character from being able to move. Now from there we do have the enter key, and because we don't have a condition in, it's available all the time. What we want to do is we want to tie this into where this key is only available when we have less than 1% health. So we do have a red Boolean pin that's coming right out of the back of this, which says if this condition is less than 1, allow us to use that branch. right? So if our current health is less than 1, make the enter key available, and when it's available, what it's going to do is look at the current level name, so whatever level we're in, and then send us back or reopen that level. So essentially it'll feel like we're respawning in that level, right? All right. Now from there we'll do the same thing for the bottom one. And what the bottom one is saying is, again, when the health is below 1, give us access to the end key on your keyboard. And if this is true, if we're less than 1, then when this key is available, it will send us back to the main menu map. Now, from here, what we'll want to do is compile and save. So compile and save. And there's just one little problem with the code that we've written, is that in the previous project, since we didn't have this set up, we did have a trigger box that was on the screen. So those trigger boxes are still going back to the code that is hooked up to the main menu map for that level, or to the level map. So what we're going to need to do now is to actually go into each one of the level maps, and let me just make sure I saved that. Yes, I did. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to go back to first person. We're going to go back to first person BP. We're going to go back to level 1. We're going to hit save. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to come back here to this trigger box. And this trigger box is the one that we have set up from previously. We're actually going to want to delete this. And when we delete this, it's saying, hey, you have other code that's written on this. And we're going to go, yes, of course, we know that. So we're going to go up to the blueprint. We're going to open up the level blueprint. And this is the code that was sending us to the next level. You'll now actually see that since the trigger box is missing, this code now says none instead of trigger box. So we can actually grab this code now and just hit delete, because we're taking care of this inside the character now. So let's hit compile and save, and let's go back to that level, and let's add the new trigger box. So let's go back to first person, and since this happens to be level 1, we're going to get the level 1 trigger box, or the level 1 actor that has a trigger box in it, or a collision box in it. We're going to expand that out just a little bit more so that it fills up the space. And let's just center it in a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now at the end of level 1, when my character runs into this box, we're going to have this code happen. Alright, let's get that set up now for level 2. So before we leave, again, remember to save and save and save. Oh, what am I doing? No new changes to save. Okay, whatever. We've saved in all 3 places. Now let's go to the second level. So we'll go back to first person maps. We'll open up level 2. We will come in here and remove that trigger box. It's reminding us that we have code that was still attached to that. So we're going to open up the blueprints for level 2. We are going to remove the blueprint. Well, that got away real quick. So we're going to remove the blueprint that was the old trigger box. Hit compile and save. And we are now going to go back and add the new collision box with the new code that we have built into it. So let's just size this up a little bit. All right. Okay, so theoretically this should work now. We have enough enemies to test in level 2 whether we die, whether we get the win or the lose condition. We have the trigger box set up correctly. If we go to level 1, what we'll see is that we don't have any enemies. So what we'll need to do is go ahead and add some enemies. And let's do this. So we're in level, let's just check to make sure that we're in level 1, and we are. And let's go to content, let's go to evil cubes, let's go to S-mine, And I'm going to put the mine in here for a reason, and I want to show you something. So let's hit the first one. And what I'm going to do is just hit Control C, Control V, copy and paste, Control C, Control V, copy and paste, Control C, Control V. Now I need at least 10 of these. I need really like 11 or 12. And the reason for that is that each one of these I have set for a value of 10. So Control C, Control V. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through them to show you that if we don't have the stop movement, we're going to keep hearing more explosions, which is an indication that our character is actually still able to move around on the floor. So that's something that we don't want, because we don't want to later have an issue with that character accidentally triggering something or doing something that it wasn't supposed to. So let's count these. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's perfect. All right. So now we can go ahead and test and see whether all this stuff that we wrote works. And let's hit save. And let's go to the first level or to VP Maps. Main menu 2. Alright, so we're going to just play from here and test. So we hit the play button. We are in level 1. Okay, so that's all still correct. Let us now scroll down here to the end. We hit our new trigger box. Okay, we need to fix that up a little bit. But it does say that you win, complete level. Press enter to play, or to get to the next level, or let's hit end. So let's hit the end key, and the end key did not work. So let's figure out what's going on. Okay, so this video is already getting quite long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop it here, and we'll correct our mistakes in the second part of this, so part 2 of this tutorial. And then we'll go ahead and finish up with everything else and do the testing and everything that needs to be done for project 2. So I hope you enjoyed the video and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.